It. Welcome, Jake Meeks.
We're live now.
Correct. It seems
Cool.
like it is starting to go out amongst the internet.
It's not live where I'm trying to watch it yet. There we go. I see it. All right. Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 2 of the Tattoo Weekly, a brand new, obviously beta test series that the tattoo education community is putting out, just to kind of share what's happening in the world of tattoos, the world of tattoo education from the standpoint of tattoo educators themselves. So my name is Jake Meeks. I run the Fireside Tattoo Network for the last 8 years, and we focus on helping tattooers draw better pictures. You'd be surprised at how many tattooers don't draw good pictures. And so we're trying to fix that. Also, my co-hosts are Lauren Gregory of Reinventing the Tattoo, Gabe Ripley of Tattoo Now. And our goal with this series is just to kind of highlight things that are happening in the tattoo world as we speak, things that are happening in our own channels, on our own businesses, from the tattoo educator's standpoint, and whatever else happens to pop up. Right now, we're still kind of feeling it out. We'll probably look for your feedback to help us make better decisions and put together more polished shows and focus on the things that you want to learn more about. So we would love it if you jump in on the chat and let us know what you're interested in, and we'll kind of see how this show evolves as we go along. So I'm going to let my co-hosts here introduce themselves. Why don't we start? Lauren, why don't you start it off and tell us who you are and what you do? And since this is just still our pilot episodes, we'll pretend like no one here has any clue who we are.
Hey everybody, I'm Lauren, and some of you have seen me do some of the shows with Reinventing the Tattoo. So some of the things that I really love to do are connecting people, geeky back-end stuff. I enjoy things such as e-commerce, building stores, connecting people, marketing. I enjoy all those types of things, and of course, tattoo pigment. I will be traveling roughly once a month, so I'm really anxious to kind of get out there and see what you guys have to say, anything that's going on. I'm happy to hear with people on video and all sorts of stuff. So if I see you, let's grab some stuff, maybe even on a Sunday night, be live for this show.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll introduce myself next. Sorry, I'm also operating a little bit here. There's a lot of chat rooms going. Thank you, everybody, for letting us know that this is working. We've got it, I think, going out on all the channels. So I'm Gabe Ripley from Tattoo Now, computer geek. And my goal really is to amplify positive tattooers to leave the longest lasting positive impact on the world as we can in the short amount of time that we have. It's a little grandiose, but there's no reason to, we're here for a limited time, and the power of tattooing really does bring out so many amazing things in people and to people, through communities. It's an enabling art. And so I mainly use to help amplify the things that people are already doing. So this is through websites, obviously, but also through webinars, through setting up real world events, do a fair amount of business stuff. Anyways, I'm excited to be able to catch up on a lot of the shows we're doing through Tattoo Now and Reinventing the Tattoo, so that I can catch some of the pieces, parts, and then we could show off some of the clips and then talk about some of the things that are coming up. There's always some pieces of programming that are coming up. There's archaeology, all sorts of academics, as well as older tattooers, younger tattooers, and not regular artists, awesome, amazing, unique artists that work in traditional means. But I'm also really excited to be collaborating with Jake and Lauren, because this is going pretty well. So let's see, just real quick, let's see, Ricardo is in the chat room here, says hello while he is not driving. Ganjuana says hello, Ricardo. Lockdog606 says I'm new here. Adam Lee says what's poppin', homies. Fun. So definitely, the more you catch with each other in the different chat rooms, we're on the YouTube, we're on Facebook. I'll be kind of checking them all out here as we go. It's pretty fun. Looks like there's a significant amount of people watching.
All right. Well, since we're kind of determining our roles on the fly, Gabe is the one who's going to answer your comments or read them out loud. and I'll try to guide this ship a little bit kind of as we go. So one thing that we're considering, and like I said earlier, we'd love for you guys to tell us what you'd like to learn more about. But as a 20 some odd year veteran of tattooing, I feel like the tattoo world flies by me at such a pace that I can't keep up with what's actually happening. So we're trying to focus in on something interesting, something new, something controversial that might be happening in the world of tattooing, just to kind of get everyone's brains turning and make sure that we're all on the same page and guiding this tattoo industry in the direction that we would like to see it go, because it has been growing at a crazy clip for a very long period of time. So I'm going to kick this episode number 2 off with a topic. Bloomberg put out an article, and Lauren, you actually shared this. I appreciate it. Called "Tattoo for a Year." Sorry, I'm going to read it, so I'm not going to be looking at the camera. "Tattoo for a Year: Startup inks a $20 million funding round." So this is basically it's a company called Ephemeral Tattoo raised $20 million through a venture capital private funding group to open tattoo shops with. Would you call it semi-permanent if it lasts for a year? Semi-permanent inks, semi-permanent tattooing.
Sure.
And $20 million for tattoos that only last up to a year. Right now, they're only doing, it seems to me, and we'll link to the article here, it seems to me that what they're doing is right now they only have black ink. They're hoping to introduce color. Mm-hmm. They have 3 different kind of price points from what I read, as far as, a small, medium, and big tattoo. A big tattoo probably being, something the size of a deltoid, a little bigger than your hand, with predetermined prices. A small tattoo is $125. I'm kind of making these numbers up. I could flip.
Sure.
$125, $250, and $400 or something like that.
So the company's doing like retail tattoos. They're not like making the inks. They're doing the actual tattoos. Okay.
So, but now someone that's a good question. The company they're opening shops in New York, LA, and maybe Chicago. And I don't know if it's the same company who is actually producing the inks and opening the shops, or if 2 different groups have partnered to create this ephemeral tattoo. I'm not sure about that. But just the concept in general, these $20 million is a big number. I mean, obviously,
it's a shit ton.
Yeah.
I know how to spend a lot of money, and I've just about spent that in my lifetime, but like, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. So, you have to wonder, because these are essentially just tattoo shops with the only real difference is that they're kind of streamlining the types of tattoos that they're doing, the price points, and then the ink is going to fade out, in a year or less. Yeah. So what does that mean to, and hopefully some of the folks that are watching this will chime in with their opinions. What does that mean for tattooing? Is it just show the evolution of the industry?
I'm very much of the type who tries to figure out how to make the puzzles fit together. And I'm like, okay, so we have ink that disappears in a year. Like, how could we figure out how to make that awesome for the tattoo world? And I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I feel like there might actually be a place for like younger apprentices to tattoo shit on people who are not quite sure about tattooing, but they're interested, with something for a year, like Faith Up. I'm not going to disparage any tattoo. They're all, people, again, marking their times and places. But again, we all know that there's clients that come in that, maybe they clearly want to get marked. They're not ready for the commitment, and as tattoo purists, it's very easy to be like, we want to make sure that the tattoo lasts as long as possible. It's why we do this, or why you do this. It's why I work in this. But I also do know that there are a lot of, tattoos that happen that would, be, better off to disappear in a year. And if there's a client out there that might actually stop them from, making permanent mistakes, or mistakes that they have to laser, and or matched with a tattooer who's like just trying to figure out how to get the shit in the skin to stick. Presuming that the laserable or these, this disappearing inks, naturally disappearing inks come out, or they go in, similarly to the permanent inks. It could be good training for people. I guess that's where I came up with. I'm like, you know what, this could actually be a good place for people to like learn about it and to test the waters without permanently fucking up their body parts, or not permanently, without having to laser shit later if they want to actually do real tattoos. And then you're like, and they're going to have shops in the 3 major markets to do these on people. And I'm like, that's not that. Like, that's just, catering to people that are not necessarily learning about it necessarily. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what to think anymore. You threw me for a curveball. I was all psyched. I'm like, I prepared for this. I know a way that I would want to make this work. But then, generally when you're dealing with $20 million or investment bank, like their goal is not what's best for tattooing necessarily. It's what's best to make dough.
Yeah.
So there we go.
I'd like to in the second question, I was gonna. My first thought was what it means to the tattoo industry, but then I also have some questions regarding the dollar amount invested. Lauren, what's your thought just on the concept?
The concept, I would say it represents for sure. That's a company, and it's a large portion of don't necessarily want anything permanent, and like for example, I kind of threw this in the text to you guys. Amazon offers pickup shifts. So if you don't really want to commit to a job, you could get a text saying do you want it or not. You won't get fired if you say no. So it represents a trending mindset where things are permanent, and maybe that's good for a large portion of people who might be in the mindset to get. There are still billions of people in the world. I still think that permanent tattooing will flourish beyond, but this type of trend I think would probably fade out. That's a large number though. So, I mean, I'm just picturing something that looks like an Apple store where you can go and you get, the same thing people have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just
and I think that's the point. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I think that's the point. Like, think about how big Pinterest tattooing has become over the. I know I have friends that make great livings doing small, delicate, almost invisible types of tattoos. They're the ones I think that need to be that might need to be a little nervous right now, because a lot of their clientels are the first ones that will make that
sure
that
and
jump to the temporary tattoo.
If the ink disappears as an artist, it would suck but if there's more control, I mean, then it's just a number they're looking at repeat clients. So
I'm wondering how it fades out. Does it get dingy and look like old, like sailor tattoos for a while and then goes away? Or do you just wake up and it's kind of gone? That would be ideal. But if it gets,
I've heard it looks like shit quick.
Yeah, I would imagine it has. Your body is trying to is trying to pull it away, rob it almost instantly. So I would think within months, depending on obviously your skin tone. There are so many variables. So your skin tone, the way that your health, the sun exposure, all those types of things. So you're really going to have a huge, a really wide variety of results, I think.
Yeah. The other story I have to tell about this, and I'll try to make it somewhat quick, is I was at the Empire State Tattoo Convention a couple years ago with Guy, and one of the fellows, I don't know who, I'm sure there's not so many people doing this, but maybe not. There might be a lot, but it feels like somebody probably involved with this person was involved with a company that was making inks that disappeared after a year, and started chatting with Guy, and right off the bat, it was really polite, really smart person, kind of a little younger than me, but I guess half the people are younger than me now. But so he was chatting with a guy, and really clear, it was like all of a sudden he's talking about inks that disappear after a year. I'm like, well, you're chatting with Guy Aitchison in here, like, I don't know how long Guy's going to have to chat with somebody about inks that are disappearing. And this is a lesson in patience. I learned from Guy tremendously. And after I don't know, like 4 or 5 minutes or something, like, I'm not Guy's manager by any stretch of the imagination. I would work with him on different projects, friends with him. I'm able to, send offers his way or whatever, but I'm not a manager in any, but part of me was like, the manager in me was like, time to move on. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. You talk with Guy, but you're not you're literally talking about tattoos that disappear with one of the best tattooers in the world. And, but Guy kept listening. And he didn't fucking push him on. He wasn't rude. He just kept listening. And then finally the guy was done with his pitch. And I'm like, what the hell is Guy going to say? And Guy is like, I just don't think that anyone's going to, want to pay my day rate, for a tattoo that's going to disappear after a year. And I was like, holy shit, that's like the most brilliant, kind, patient answer to give to this guy after all that. And, from there, the guy was like, well, what's your day? And I don't even know, whatever. From there, they had the conversation about it. But guy wasn't like, get the fuck out of here. Like tattoos that are done in a year, that's for like bullshit people that have no commitment. Like he was literally like, had a real conversation with him. And I learned a lot about, just being, again, guy was really nice. I've learned it from other people too. But sometimes the efficient, ruthless business person is like, come on, we don't have time for this, move on. When really it's about educating and being patient with people. And
absolutely. Let's touch for a second on the dollar amount invested. And Gabe, you might be the best one, or are the best one probably in this group to address this, because I've never worked for or run a large tattoo shop. But I would imagine if you're talking about, big shops that have 10, 15, 20, plus stations, artists, guest artists, whatever. I maybe if you're trying to scale either in the number of actual shops or the size of the shops, you could see a return on a $20 million investment relatively quickly. But is that you would know, I guess, better than me. How reasonable?
I put together a lot of business plans, and I've dealt with some of the largest. Including supply companies, some of the largest companies in the tattoo world. Not like the tippity top, but some pretty large numbers. And I could pretty much look at any like abandoned factory and figure out how I could fill it up and how much it would cost. $20 million is a significant amount of money. Now, if you're talking about shops in all of the major markets, are we talking about shops in Times Square, and fucking Beverly Hills, and I don't know the fancy spot in Chicago.
$150 tattoos, though, right? These are
not necessarily. It could be $300 tattoos. Because you might charge a premium for people that want tattoos that disappear in a year. You might, and you might be dealing with, how many $150 tattoos are you dealing with? If it takes 10 minutes to do 100, the infinity symbol turning into the fairy or to the whatever, if you do any of those Pinteresty tattoos, they take 15 minutes, $150. How many of them can you do? How many of them could you do in Chicago? Mm-hmm. How many can you do if there's only 3 places in Chicago and I'm not trying to encourage people in Chicago to run out and open up disappearing tattoo studios. But as far as can you make up $20 million? I don't know. That's a lot of money. Those are real people, or not real people. Those are people that are, that is above my pay grade.
Yeah.
But on the other hand,
the reason I was asking is because you've run a larger shop that did a lot of volume, and I just wondered. You probably know what the gross revenues were at those shops that had 20 plus artists.
I'd have to have 10 shops. On the other hand, if I had 10 shops doing what I did, I'd be doing that in a year.
Okay, so that probably answers the question then. And obviously, venture capitalists, they're not tattooers. They know the dollar amount they're putting in and the risk that they're taking. I was just, as you were talking, I was doing a little.
They might not make it back. I've watched many people invest, half that, but in mall tattoo shops. There's a lot of people that look at tattooing and see money, and there's, the money people want to double it. There tends to, when a tattooer charges $1,500, $2,500 a day, you tattoo a lot of high, executive level businessy type people. Yeah. But to your point, it takes a lot. Anything in tattooing takes a really long time to get to the pretty thing, and it takes discomfort. And just because you have $20 million to do something, does not. It's much easier to spend it than it is to make it back. To your point.
Yeah. I was running some quick math, and this is a way oversimplification, but I just said, what if you could do 30 tattoos a day at a decent shop at $150 each? That's $4,500 a day. If you worked 7 days, if you're cranking that out 7 days a week, that's $31,500 a week times 52 weeks in a year. It's 1.63 million in a year. That's just one
per
shop.
Artist. Or per shop.
But I was saying if the shop could crank out 30 of those tattoos a day as a whole, like 30 $150 tattoos a day, 7 days a week would be 1.6 million per year for one shop. I don't know what this $25 million or $20 million investment is buying in terms of, and how many, what the volume is. I don't know. It's an oversimplification, but I just didn't know how fast you could expect a return doing.
Sounds like something for shopping malls and stuff like that. Where high traffic locations and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's interesting. Has no one in the chats had anything to say about this? Come on.
Oh yeah. Let's see here. So JR Bull says, who wants to lease a tattoo for a year?
That's
But
a good way
I
to
guess
put it.
the point is, there's a lot of people that are not quite ready, and I guess what I would propose is, all the tattoos that people put on people that know are kind of mistakes or are again, like if you could imagine being a tattooer and like instead of being like, no, this is really the way it goes, you could almost say, this is the way that I think it should be done. Like, oh, you're gonna push back? Well, do you want it done in ink that only lasts a year? Oh, you do? Cool, no problems. Anyway, what do you think? Like who wants to lease a tattoo for years? One of the comments.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, you mentioned early on, and we can move on from this topic, but it is interesting. But you mentioned early on that that it's a good like proving ground or a place for young tattooers to learn. But I would think in the areas that this company is trying to open tattoo shops, they will want their clientele to feel like they have very highly skilled artists doing leasing, doing lease tattoos for a year.
Sure.
So that'll be another challenge, I bet. I mean, but of course, you're probably going to be working on the front end, at least, with a lot of pre-made designs that are pretty straightforward, pretty simple, that you can really crank through. Not a lot of custom work, I would guess, unless it's very simple, because they can only use. I mean, it's black ink only right now, and I don't know if black ink only means straight black, or if they can mix down gray washes and do black and gray tattoos, and if so, how fast those things go away. I don't know. A lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like who. Well, again, to kind of the point where Guy was saying, it's like, who's going to really go out of the way to make real intricate tattoos if they know that it's going away, and who's going to pay for that? Maybe there's some people.
Maybe, yeah. All right, well,
let's see. Carbon Crayola says, thank you for the creation of this channel.
Thanks for watching.
Let's see here. There's a fair amount here. I'm trying to.
I know we're trying to. I know that we're while you're looking at that. I know we're trying to be fairly efficient on the show, and we had a couple of tattooers that work with us on some of our drawing groups that just did a show. Are they available to jump on and we can see how our call-in function works?
Yeah. So Jason, if you're watching, I know they're watching because they're in the chat room. So like Ricardo, so now's a good time to zoom in. So Ricardo says, I wonder if the company will try to upscale this as a niche part of the market and end up charging more, marketing this as one of a kind scenario. I thought about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That wouldn't surprise me at all to sell it at like a kind of a premium.
Ganja Wana says, how ironic if Eternal Ink comes out with temporary inks. Yeah, with the name Eternal, Eternal temporary inks. It's kind of like Tattoo Now. It's like Tattoo Now, but you gotta wait 6 months to get a great tattoo.
Right.
Let's see. Malin says that ink sounds cheesy.
Yeah. It does, but I mean, it's it does show that this industry has moved in ways that we probably would have never guessed that it would. Although temporary tattoos, that's not a crazy stretch, but a $20 million investment in temporary tattoo companies, it does seem like a crazy stretch.
Hell yeah. That's out of control. So Ricardo says he's on his way in. So they were at the Gettysburg convention this weekend, and they definitely seemed like they were having a pretty good time down there. It's pretty crazy. So who's going to conventions?
I will be going to some. Next weekend we'll be in Chicago, and next month we'll be in Dallas for the Tattoo Collectors Expo.
What is that?
I'm pretty excited to see the coverage of that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
What
then
is that?
That's Worldwide Ink and Alonzo Gonzalez along with Sammy Lynn. They put that together. Jeremy Kitchens as well. It was supposed to be in 2020 of March, so things got switched around quite a bit, but they're going on. I think 300 artists will be attending, and that's in Dallas, Texas. So, yep, that'll happen, as well as the Golden State Tattoo Expo we kind of talked about last week.
And when is that one?
The middle of September 17th to 19th.
I'm going to hit that one up for a couple of days too. I need to solidify my plans, but heading out to hyperspace. But then, Golden State's always a good show. I do appreciate it. Everyone what was the good way to put it is it's like a good show for where everyone peacocks. and everyone's got their feathers out, and everyone like, it's not like people have doubles or even triples. It's like, how many rows does each company have? But to that point is like everyone's bringing out their best artists, and so like, it's got a slamming lineup. It's a pretty cool show.
Yeah. Gabe, what about you? What are your upcoming shows?
So let's see.
that?
Well, so there's the Golden State. I've been busy putting together the BYOB, the show that we're doing in at Jiminy Peak, and it was really easy to a couple of months ago be like, oh yeah, sure, we're gonna do like a BYOB, and from the 3rd to the 6th, it'll be like a picnic. Everyone can kind of show up. We'll beam it out. Don't even show up, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, we actually have a whole resort that's rented out, and we have artists that are coming to set up elaborate art setups and do seminars and stuff. We should probably, get the schedule together, start selling tickets and like, doing it. So, but yeah, so that the October 3rd is the big show that I'm kind of setting up for. And then ahead of time, I think it's just Golden State.
Yeah, you didn't say it's the
Brussels.
Paradise BYOB.
Paradise BYOB, yes.
So for anyone who remembers the Paradise Tattoo gatherings that Gabe used to put on, it'll be kind of dipping the toes back into that experience, right?
Yeah, it's and again, it's unique, right? I mean, we're also in a unique time. It was kind of fun. Part in the video, I'm like, this is no time to get normal. We're doing a Sunday to Wednesday show. But with the amount of people that are coming, the contributions, all of the webcasting, tactfully, but it's like all of your favorite reinventing the tattoo community gamers, but you can come out and meet them in person and shake their hands. But it looks like these guys are in. So speaking of shaking hands with people in conventions, Ricardo and I think they're beaming in. Is that the truth?
All right, good deal. Who's going to handle this line of questioning? I nominate Lauren. She hasn't been she hasn't asked any questions yet.
Yeah, I haven't been too vocal. First of all, I've heard good things about Gettysburg. I know you guys were all excited to go. So, did you guys see any old friends? How'd it go? First of all, can we hear you?
Yeah, that'd be good to know.
Yeah, I don't hear them right now, Ricardo. Audio.
That's why we call this the beta tattoo.
Yeah.
It happens on CNN too, practically. Well, maybe right. Before they get to hear it doesn't. But
yeah, it does. I was watching morning news. I thought it'd be cool for this to be kind of like a morning newscast, except for we're in 3 different places. But really, the news has been that way lately. Everyone's like broadcasting from their living rooms, so it's not that different.
So yeah, I will be broadcasting next. So not sure who will be joining me. I know Fawn Baker will be coming from the Tattoo Collecting Podcast. We'll see if she'll have time to beam in. I know that Todd will be there as well, and some of the artists in our booth, Spooks Hoya and Sophie Savage. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll be working with that tattoo show, and I know Gabe had wanted to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
From some of the American venues that we travel to be featured on their tattoo show.
Oh, that's fun. Those guys are doing a really cool thing. Paul and Chris. I've known Paul or I don't know of Paul and chatted with Paul Talbot for a couple of years. He's a fan-fucking-tastic character. He's great. I'm wicked excited to catch up with that guy. So, Lauren, is there a weight room or something where Ricardo and Jason and Kerry might be in, or?
They were there and they left. So.
Oh, I see what's going on here.
Yep.
Okay. Well, why don't we run some of the clips in the meantime?
Yeah, that's cool. Tell me real quickly, what is that tattoo show? I'm not familiar with it. Is it a podcast?
They're based in South Wales. Yeah, kind of like a review channel and stuff like that. They reviewed Raw Pigments recently. They came on one of our business calls for reinventing, and they have a lot of review stuff and a lot of interesting content.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a note of it. I don't know them. So do we want to? I was going to save that until the end, but if we want to go through and kind of talk about while we're figuring out our technical issues with our call-in guests, do we want to run through and kind of talk about what is happening in our own individual worlds and our own businesses? Who wants to start? Do we want to flip a coin or anything, or just somebody jump in?
Why don't you start, and then we'll turn, and then I'll close until. Yeah.
Okay. I've got a cool new series starting through Fireside. Like I said, if you guys don't know don't know me, I'm from the Fireside Tattoo Network, and we've been doing weekly content on YouTube for, I don't know, 8-9 years now. And we are starting a new series on illustrative tattooing. It's just something that I've been into a lot lately, just large scale kind of storytelling through tattooing. I'll start with my teaser because I edited this down myself and I was proud of it. But here's the teaser. It starts this coming week. So that is that's our little teaser. And so what you saw a few of those names on there: Teresa Sharp, Nick Baxter, Andy Chambers, my great friend Adam Shaw, who a lot of you guys won't know Adam Shaw, but he's a really high level illustrator. He's done a lot of comic books, a lot of pulp fiction kind of covers for novels and things like that. And I learned so much. We were from the same town, Memphis, Tennessee, and he was 3 or 4 years ahead of me in school. And so he was always kind of the best artist that I knew. And I'm excited to have him on to kind of share his brain. And I got Jesse Smith to commit. We've also done an episode with Rich Wren, who has a really unique style. But we're going to kick it off actually with Nick Baxter. So let me share with you real quickly just Nick's little teaser here. We really need someone else to do this, all the clicking and stuff, right? All right. Oh, dang it. Sorry, wrong one. Messed this up. Shit, audio. This goes for whether it's a client that's brought you an idea or whether you're starting a painting based on your own idea. The research is basically the same.
Yeah, oftentimes it is. Yeah. I mean, I try to simplify tattooing as much as possible because it's really easy to overcomplicate a tattoo and not have it look right on the human body as it moves and lives and breathes. So I'm always trying to take a tattoo concept and like boil it down to like just like the core essence of what that person's idea was, and then build upon it from there. You know, try to get some textures, some fun rendering details, and the stuff I'm good at. Try to get that into the tattoo as well. But as far as like the core concept from the person, I'm always trying to get them to want to say more with less.
So that is going to be our very first episode with my buddy Nick Baxter, who has been so good to us over the years. When we first started Fireside and no one knew who we are, he was one of the first kind of bigger names that was willing to come on and sit down with me. And my favorite story about him is whenever I got him to commit to doing a podcast, and I set up downstairs in his studio in Austin, Texas, and he walked down, and at that point we had big cameras. The cameras were not as good and they were a lot bigger back then. We had big cameras and lights set up, and Nick walked down and froze halfway down the stairs. It was like, I thought that podcasts were audio. I was like, oh yeah, this is a video podcast. And he was like, I wouldn't have done this. But luckily he's been on like quite a few times now. He's gotten so much better about being in front of a camera. He's definitely the kind of guy who loves to work on his weaknesses. And he was just, at that point, he was just a pretty shy, or he's still a shy person, but he's gotten, if you've never seen any of his seminars or done a workshop or anything with him, he's really come a long way in his willingness to like be in front of a camera. So
it's amazing. I love like the the people that don't get it just aren't ever going to get it. But the people that get it are like, oh man, fucking, he is 100%. Like, he's so methodical about what he does. And part of it is what I've seen. I've known Nick for 20 some odd years, and he like doesn't want to waste any time, you know. And so it's like, if people are just kind of not like doing something, you know, or fit it, you know, then it's like, well, where's the, you know, what is the contribution? Why are we talking? Like, what are we doing? It's not, and it's not like it's out of a great place. Like, again, he wants to contribute. He's awesome. It's anybody that has a chance to hear him go through any of his interviews or his seminars absolutely should.
Yeah. He believes that he's here to make paintings and make tattoos, and that's where his time is best spent. And if he and if you're getting in the way of that and not you know, or dragging your feet or aren't contributing, yeah, you'll find that he's pretty short with you. So I'm like, it's he's not. I was going to say he's an acquired taste, but he's really not an acquired taste. He's just passionate about what he does. So. I'm going to show you one last one. What I wanted to start doing with these, and I guess maybe we all will do some version of this, is since we have been putting on this show for so many years, there are a lot of episodes that I felt like were really great that kind of never picked up the traction. Maybe we didn't promote them correctly, or the thumbnail wasn't that good, or who knows. So any number of reasons that I think good episodes don't get the viewership that they should. But this last one I'm going to show you is from last year. It was a two-part interview that we did with Marcus Linhard, and we talked about a lot about lines and edges and things like that. And so here's a little clip from that, and we'll link to that. My goal is to have all these links in the show notes, and I don't know if this one's going to be there or not, but I will. You can absolutely find it by searching Marcus Linhard Fireside, or just going to our channel and searching for this specific episode, and it'll pop right up. But here it comes.
Couple of months ago, I started a piece just doing gray lines really quick, and then just going in right with a Magnum and just blocking in shades. And that felt really good, and I think I'm going to do that more now.
Yeah.
Because I don't like doing lines. I really don't. I never liked it. I never enjoyed it. It doesn't matter if with a coil or with a rotary. I never enjoyed doing lines. I always find it really stressful. There's something of an element of I don't know, like expectation. Like, I have this expectation, oh no, today I will get them right. You know? And I've done this for 16 years, and I'm tired, you know. No, I'll never get them fucking right. Fuck them. I don't need them.
So yeah, that's that was such a fun interview, two-part series that we did with Marcus. And I didn't know him really before that. Gabe, I'd actually met him through you. We did a drunk critique together, and then started talking and ended up doing that series or doing that interview series a couple of weeks later. And I went back and listened to it not long ago, and I learned a lot, and I just love his ideas on tattooing. He's a very thoughtful guy, and really one of the more unique tattooers in his style and his kind of bio-organic mechy style. It's like it's there's no one else that does anything similar to what he does. It's really, really interesting. And you can see one of those pieces that I just kind of grabbed in that little clip. It's really, really unique, his style of work. So that's it for me. That's all that I have to share with you guys this week. Who's up next?
Well, Lauren's up next. I'll just say that you know, there's certainly people that are working in a style. They've seen what Marcus is able to accomplish, and are like, oh, I think I could probably accomplish the same thing. Or give it a shot, and but the fun thing about Marcus and anybody that's really at a forefront is, like, you could always copy. They always will copy the last thing, but you're never going to be able to copy the next thing that he's doing. And Marcus is so thoughtful, and yeah, it's amazing. It's a pleasure to again, he's another one. Yeah, just like Nick, fucking amazing to see and hear from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
totally agree with that. There's such a stark contrast between following and leading, and you really have that choice. It's a choice that you make. You can draw from so many different things for inspiration that you really don't need to copy anything. But so I am going to share with you guys something I found interesting. A couple weeks ago, Russ Abbott was on the Tattoo Collecting podcast, and they were talking about several things, but in particular, I'd like to share this clip where Russ talks about pricing. And now pricing can be a sensitive topic for a lot of people, but he reminded us to keep in mind the rule of inflation. So I will share with you, Russ.
Oh, I think we needed the sound. I'm not hearing the sound.
You know, at that point I was paying a 50% commission to the shop, and then I was, you know, not sure exactly what to do about taxes, but I knew I was supposed to be squirreling some away because I was a 1099, and you know, I was like still in debt for a while, you know, just really bad debt, you know, or usage. You know, when I got a credit card right when I started college, and I was just like, okay, cool, and I maxed that thing out, you know, quickly buying tattoo supplies at the beginning during my apprenticeship, and I would just play that game where I would, like, you know, get a new credit card and transfer the balance over to reduce the interest rate, and then and so at a certain point, you know, I was like $25,000 in credit card debt, and there was just no way that I was ever going to get out of it, you know, until, you know, I got really fortunate. At some point, my dad helped me, you know, kind of like get one loan and pay it off and start to make payments, and I was able to get out of it eventually, and you know, never ever would go back there. Wouldn't wish that on anybody, but you know, it quickly became like, you know, like the needs of my lifestyle were growing, right? Starting to have a family, and you know, needed to earn more money. But the cap that a tattooer faces is really on the amount of time that they can spend tattooing. That's the real cap, right? It's like how many appointments can you book? How long can you spend actually tattooing? Because we're all charging, for the most part, we're charging by the hour, and that hour is clocked from when we start tattooing to when we stop tattooing. And you know, to customers who are thinking like, hey, like I make 40, you know, who knows what they make? Maybe they make $15 an hour at their job, or maybe they make $50 an hour at their job, but they make it for all the times they spend doing that work, right? And our work includes doing the tattoo, which we might be doing back at home, you know, or before they ever arrive. And our work includes the equipment that we're using, the supplies that we're using, and all those things cost money. And then there's, you know, all the time that we spent in our lives building a skill to be able to do that work, do it efficiently, right? So
you're not paying for the 10 minutes, you're taking the 10 years it took you to learn and do it in 10 minutes.
Right.
Exactly. Right. So, you know, so that's the first thing I guess, you know, customers of tattooing might need a little bit of, you know, calibration on, to understand that, you know, our hourly rate is not equal to their hourly rate, in the same apples to oranges way, or apples to apples way. So where am I going with this? You know, so tattooers need to, you know, if we're going to charge by the hour, we need to, you know, charge enough to cover, you know, what it costs to.
But also, when a lawyer gets a phone call, he bills for that phone call. So if it took you 3 hours to draw your image, your tattoo started with a 3-hour charge. You want to run it that way, or do you want to pay my rent?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think a lot of tattooers just kind of come into it, and we get told how it's done by other tattooers. And there's this sort of a myth that there's like some logic going on to it. I think really what's happening is just people are told what to charge, and they start charging that amount. And then, you know, they do a thing where they actually don't charge that amount ever. They, a lot of tattooers just like say it's an amount per hour, but then they don't keep up with the time. And then they, at the end, they just go, well, that seemed like about 2 hours, so it'll be this much. And
right, so probably undercutting themselves as well.
Yeah, I think
more so.
Tattooer charges less, you know, than they actually would, because they feel bad and they want to, you know, kind of make the customer feel like they're kind of cutting them a break.
Yeah,
a lot of tattooers do that, and then of course the shop, you know, loses out its piece of the action because the tattooer is choosing what to charge. and it's not as much as they could have charged. So
there goes your overhead and profit.
Right.
Right. Overhead, profits, taxes. Like we're not even charging.
Who needs that
you
to
know.
run a business?
We have to talk about inflation, right? Because I think that people largely don't know about that, but inflation goes at about 3% every year. So when I started tattooing in '98 at $100 an hour, if 10 years passed, I would need to charge roughly a little over $130 an hour just to be at the exact same rate. So now more than 20 years has passed since that time when we were charging $100 an hour in Atlanta, Georgia. And just really quick math, that means that $100 is now equal to $160.
And that's assuming your skill set hasn't changed and you haven't developed a skill at all in those past 20 years and you're still doing your entry-level tattoos.
Right, yeah. If I'm still doing that entry-level tattoo at $150 an hour. And, Tattoo Smart did some polling all over the United States a couple of years ago. And at that time, we found that the average hourly rate was sitting somewhere around maybe $135, $140, if I'm remembering correctly.
All right, and I am back. That was a little bit of a long clip, but it does bring to light a very important topic that people do forget about, and that is how to charge. So Gabe, Jake, I'm interested to hear your perspective there.
Yeah, I think, Russ is, he was the perfect person to talk to that about. He kind of hit the nail, or all the nails on the head. I mean, he talked about a lot of things, a lot of the challenges that tattooers have. And I the same thing, Russ and I have been tattooing around the same amount of time. We come from the same era of tattooing. And he was talking about, people saying, or, tattooers saying, oh, that felt like 2 hours. I don't know what it is about tattooers. I don't know anyone else that that works that way, but you're already discounting all of the time that it took you to do the drawing, all the time that it took you to develop the skill set, to do the drawing, and often you're discounting the setup time and the breakdown time and all the other stuff, and you're only charging, all these machines, power supplies, they have like timers built in. So whenever the foot switch is depressed, and the machine is running, that's when the clock is turning, and that's all they're charging on anyways, which is a fraction of the actual time. And then they discount themselves again on that. And it's I don't know what it is. I don't have a good answer for it. I did the same thing. You become friends with your clients, or you feel like I'm doing what I love, and so I feel guilty making too much money off of it or something. I don't really know. That's great. I haven't watched that segment, but I'm going to go through and watch the entire thing. What was that? That was on the
that was on the Tattoo Collecting podcast, episode number 40, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. And there was a lot of other content that is around an hour and 45 minutes in, where he starts to talk about inflation. Mm-hmm. And I'd be interested to know if you were to I know people do charge day rates versus hourly rates, but when was the last time you spot checked your rate?
Yeah,
I mean,
I adjust my rate annually as I basically every year we start. But I did the same. Sorry, Gabe. I did the same in order to combat that problem, because I have the same tendency to guess on my hours or to shortchange myself. I feel like whenever I take myself out of it and they go through a waiting list or through a booking process that says this is what it is for the day. And sign up if you're willing to pay that. I've basically taken myself. I've taken myself out of the process, and by the time they walk in, I don't even have to talk about dollars, and I know that it's an amount that I can justify putting in that effort. And that seems to be the that seems to be the compromise that a lot of us have found. So many people have gone to day rates.
Yeah,
sorry, what were you saying, Gabe?
Day rate. Well, taking the pricing out of the artist's hands, and or just making it very mechanical. It really depends on what the goal is too. I suppose the thing that I might just add to this would be from the end of somebody, there's a lot of tattooers will charge, $1,500 to $2,500 a day. They're charging a significant rate. I guess part of it is, at that point, you're able to guide your clientele, right? You're able to kind of figure out who you want to tattoo. So here's the thing, right? Like art. Part of it is like when we're talking about hourly rates, what other artist, like what fine artist works on an hourly rate. None, zero. It's all like if you're selling $1 million painting, a $500,000 painting, $100,000 painting. And now here's the thing, like I don't care about selling $100,000 paintings, but like if we're talking about rates and money and making money off of art, then it would be silly not to. Like so you know, especially for somebody like Russ or like Guy, like they should be gauging their artwork on scales like that, you know. And in this kind of, you know, manner, it's like, you know, the value of that tattoo should be based off of the value of the end product, not necessarily the amount of hours that it takes. To the Russ's point, it's like not the 10 minutes, or whoever's point, it's not the 10 to the me around, it's not the 10 minutes, it's the 10 years or 20 years, 50 years, like Boris Vallejo, right? 60 fucking years painting the same, refining the same techniques. But then all of a sudden you can find yourself, I have watched artists find themselves like tattooing, you know, people that could afford $2,000, $5,000 a day, or some of the celebrity type, you know, if they're charging $5,000 a day, like that means you're only tattooing people that could afford that. Which is just weird. Like, I don't know, it gets weird. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I suppose you're supposed to charge whatever you can, but like, you want to be careful. So just to wrap it up, like I know tattooers that intentionally keep their rate lower so that they're tattooing the people that they love, not necessarily making the most amount of money that's possible.
And those are the ones, to Lauren's point, that need to pay more attention to inflation. A lot of us that are trying to work off of bigger day rates and are trying to niche down to a very particular clientele. You know, if a bottle of ink goes from $14 to $16, that bottle of ink lasts months and months, and it doesn't have a huge effect. You know, from a 3%. Russ, I think Russ is about right around inflation averages around 3% a year. So, you know, someone who's charging $1,500 a day and doing one tattoo a day, you know, they're filling an ink cap maybe twice, you know, with that exact ink, or using, you know, just 3 different needle configurations or something like that. It doesn't have as big of an impact on them as it does the person that's breaking down and setting up over and over all day.
I mean, obviously there's a million different ways. There's a variety of different ways to do it, right? And like you could calculate everything out and then figure out your rates. So there's a comment in here from Damon Tesh from Humboldt County. He says, I go by the Felix Liu philosophy. Just make a fair price for you and them. You know, like you could look at a tattoo and be like, that's a $500 tattoo. That's a $250 tattoo. That's a $1,000 tattoo. Like, you know, and then how long is it going to take you? I don't know. You know, it'll take me as long as it takes to make it perfect. But then, like I said,
that's another thing altogether. A lot of people do piece prices, especially at conventions and things like that. You know, so they'll put something up on their board that says this flat rate $350 for any of these designs and $175 for any of these designs, and that's another way to look at it. Yeah.
Actually, at the you know, the best way to make the most amount of responsible money would be to have somebody who's not the tattooer, front room person, a manager who understands all of the nuances that are in play and is able to quote the price, you know. And so the actual practitioner of the craft, and in this case, because it's an artsy personal craft, you know, inherently, as we all know, regardless of whatever, like tattooers often will be like, oh no, that was 3 hours, and the studio owner's like, that was literally 4.5 hours. You know, just having a support team or the front room person quote the hours and quote the math, it's so much easier. I mean, I was talking to a tattooer today, you know, my daughter's getting tattooed, and I was trying to figure out the price, you know, and it was like, well, how much, you know, well, how much do you charge an hour? Okay, $150. Well, about how long it'll take? About 3 hours. Okay, well, I know how much it'll cost now. But she wouldn't just say like, this is the range, you know, because it's tough. And but the fact is, you know, 5 hours at $150 an hour, you just math it out. It's right there, boom. And anyways, it's there's definitely different ways to do it. It really depends on what your goal is too.
How so? The tattooers go? For
tattooers' goals, yeah. I mean, like, you know, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, not everyone wants necessarily or needs to make, you know, $1,000, $1,500, $2,500 a day, you know, whether you can or not.
Yeah, but it affects your lifestyle. If you're, I've been around tattooers who always charge way less than what they're worth, and they have a hard time managing their lives, managing their schedules. They're always doing favors, always making deals, and I don't know. I get that, but I've seen that cause more harm than good. Always kind of like being on the low end of your, you know, from a pricing standpoint, being on the low end what your skill set is.
Yeah. I'm not saying to be on the. I guess that's not necessarily where I was going with it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, a lot of people I know do. Well, again, it's like tempering it. I'm literally coming from the end of the perspective of tattooers who are like, do I charge $2,500 a day or $3,500 a day? Which is like, do I tattoo tattooers or like lawyers and investment bankers?
Mm-hmm.
And you make that choice, and because fine art isn't bought by the working class. I guess this is where I'm going with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was an awesome clip, really. It's something that you could build a whole series of conversations on and get a lot of ideas from a lot of different people. Both.
Yeah, if you guys didn't catch it, he said he started in '98 for $100 an hour in Atlanta. So if anyone's watching, I'd be interested to know if anyone started in the '90s, what their rates were. If that's how they did it, or their hourly rates.
So I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, which is close to Atlanta. Same clientele, very similar cities, actually. Atlanta's just a bigger version. But we were and I started in '96, and we were same thing. And then all the way up to the early 2000s, we were $100 an hour. Probably 2002 or so, we went to $125 an hour as a shop. Now, back then, it was as a shop, unless you were an apprentice. So everyone, if one person was raising the rates, everyone raised the rates. And it wasn't until probably, I think, 2006, 7, 8, somewhere around there, that I had just gotten tired of setting up and breaking down my station. And I just came in and said, I'll stay at the $125 an hour, but I just want to do a 2-hour minimum. I just want everything to be at least $250 to justify the work that I'm like just making stencils and doing all the stuff I don't like. And that started to change. That's where everyone in the shop started to kind of separate. Some people were still willing to do, 1-hour tattoos or 30-minute tattoos. And I just thought, well, if I'm going to sit down and do a tattoo, it should at least pay $250 because I was only getting half of that, So, yeah. All right. Well, great. So, where are we?
I've got 2 clips to run through. There's been a couple of comments about the loop in the background, the Alpine slide. That's Jiminy Peak. That's Carson Hill of Numa fame and Dirk Morrison racing down the Jiminy Peak Alpine slides, like, I don't know, 12 years ago or whatever. Anyways, it is a lot of fun. And I have to say, when you're sleep deprived, like, so when I run the tattoo convention, I haven't slept for like 6 months. And then I run the show. And then after the 4th day, when I go down that thing, I don't know whether it's like 15 miles an hour or 25 miles an hour, but I swear I'm doing 65. It's crazy. But okay, let me
race next time, Gabe.
I don't want to race. Well, I'll race. Yeah, I'll race anytime, any day of the week. It's but you can go flipping off. There's 2 of them. There's the Alpine slide. That's this one that you can go flying off of, and then there's the roller coaster that you strap into. But so let's see. So the videos that I have here, I love the fact that people are interviewing so many awesome different tattooers. This is Adriana, the tattoo journalist, did an interview with Phip Buchanan, and I knew who he was through just being pretty well read in the in the tattoo world. But it had been a really long time, and I was really excited to check out this video here and share audio. Here we go. Here we go when I unclick.
What are some of the positive change to the industry over time?
Well, probably the fact that people do want custom work more often than not. That would definitely be something. And one thing that I feel like my generation and the group right above wanted to help popularize it more and bring it into the mainstream, which I guess is a better thing.
Well, you did that, that's for sure, because it's very accessible now.
And I think the tipping point, or whatever you want to call it, with like the thing that I never ever thought I would see happen was TV shows. And with that, it seemed like it really boosted our business for a while, but probably a couple years into it, there's just a deluge of tattoo artists now, and a lot of them are really good and everything. It's really evolved because there's always some stepping stone, with whatever you do to the next progression, right? So, like somebody I know, Sailor Jerry was a giant influence on Ed Hardy, and I look at Jerry's stuff and I can appreciate that and everything, but I like Ed's a lot more,
A lot more. It's more. Yeah. It's more. It's the timing that Ed also influenced from Japan, and his work was also more artistic, not so flat. So there's things that it's just different generations. Yeah.
So it keeps progressing that way. So because there's so many great artists anymore. I won't even know where to start, and some of them do. I feel it is a direct continuation of what I do, or what Ed was doing when he tattooed and all that. So, but there's that progression that keeps on going. But yeah, whenever I think the tattoo shows made it more accessible to people, was sort of not as scary to them to come into the shop, that kind of thing. And it really picked up business. And for a while, it seemed like everyone had to go in depth about their story, because I know there was some show that focused on that.
Miami Ink was one. Miami Ink was one of the in early 2000s, and it went on for a long time.
Right.
But even the Ami James and Chris Garver, when I spoke with both of them, they said it helped a lot to become more accessible, but then it was scripted, so it wasn't really showing the reality of. So it's been good and bad.
Yeah, right. And then after a couple of years, it seemed like the market just got flooded with tattoo artists. And we're still relatively busy, and because sometimes I think, oh, we're not all that busy, but we have, it's like me and 5 other people, and occasionally someone sits in, and most days we all do at least a tattoo, if not several tattoos, so it can't be that slow if a shop is producing 10 tattoos. And
so, like I said, it's just amazing to be able to really catch up with some of the people that, really actually made the shifts that we're all appreciating these days. There's another previous interview with Kerry Barber, who was one of the first people to wear gloves. Like, she didn't like the feel of the blood on her hands, right? So she, advocated for glove use and was using gloves. Same thing with kind of FIP. It's like, to be able to enjoy interviews with some of the tattooers that, were literally making custom tattooing possible is, it's just a real pleasure. Jake, did you check out that interview by chance? Or that was one of the ones from the archives. So
yeah, I'm going to now. I'm glad I'm part of the show, because I'm learning all this stuff that I miss. And his name is FIP, F-I-P.
FIP Buchanan. He was a student of Ed Hardy's, I believe.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to. I watched the whole thing. It was awesome. The details, I don't want to be responsible for after drinking. But and Adriana, like, she's really going for legends, and I think she runs the 360 scene360.com. A pretty awesome, Scene 360. Yeah, she's pretty much she's like a real journalist. And
some of the names on there content she has is fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, super cool. Yeah, I'll check that one out. And where's he from? Do you know? Where did he
San Diego.
Okay. Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, he's all like West Coast. And
yeah, that was awesome. Did you have another clip, or just that one?
Yeah, I do. And actually, I think both of you have interviewed or talked to her. Well, this is the Apprentice event that Amy Kerry hosted.
Okay. Yeah. We just put an episode out with Amy. She was fantastic. I haven't known her very long, but I really like her.
Yeah, she's great. Sometimes she's, I love talking politics with people that I see mostly eye to eye with, but not 100%, because sometimes you talk with people and it's like, you can just, it's boring because everyone's on the same page. Anyways, she's great. Let me fire up her clip here. They're talking about actually what makes a great apprentice portfolio. So, if you're looking for an apprenticeship, what will make your portfolio attractive?
Well, in the beginning, I feel like there is a phase of how you utilize technology. So you said like putting yourself out there too early. I feel like it's kind of like a temperance thing. So if you are like me, my apprenticeship is in podcasting. So right now. So my whole thing with podcasting is crafting a story where I'm sharing my failures and I'm sharing the story as I go and letting people, my portfolio online is something where I'm showing people a progression because it's the nature of the thing that I'm putting out. Whereas when it comes to apprenticeship in the beginning, you need to look at your Instagram or the things that you put online as something that when you hit up a tattoo studio or a tattoo artist to ask for an apprenticeship, what's out there has been choreographed enough in the beginning so that you have really good optics. Like put up your best work. If there is
what represents you,
100 things that you have done, pick out the best 10.
Yeah.
And put those out there because that's going to be what zings somebody. Because the last thing that somebody wants to ever hear with a portfolio is, why did you put this in here? And if you don't have a good answer, you're like, oh, I was just filling space. That's not an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
Put in the things that you're like, oh, I feel like it really ability to use X or do this or showcase this, and this is another facet of my diversification of what I can do. I like to see like maybe a photo of a person when they have a portfolio page. Like I kind of like to see a little bit of their humanity and a little bit of their style and them. But I also want to see the majority. If it's an art page, I want art. I want art, over.
Seal.
Yes. I think that when you get older within it, it becomes something that's both showcasing a little bit of you and a little bit of your art, just because people end up buying your brand, but not in the beginning. In the beginning, nobody gives a fuck about who you are. Basically. They want to know that you're a good artist. They'll meet you. They'll decide upon meeting you whether or not they like your vibe or whatever. But just seeing a photo or just whatever, you got to be really careful about what kind of things you're branding about yourself right up front. And if what you want to be known for is your art, make sure that's the thing that people see.
Yeah. And do you think, since you've had apprentices and you have one now, would you rather, if like a young artist, like an 18-year-old came up to you in your shop, would you rather them have a digital portfolio or a hand portfolio with a binder and like laminates? And what would you want to see in there? Digital work, like everything?
The digital I'm not so attached to. I want to see a little bit of digital. I want to see that they're not adverse to the tools. I want to see that they're willing to take on those tool sets and kind of geek out about it and explore them. But that's just like another medium to me.
Yeah.
I want to see a diverse medium portfolio of where you have taken on art as a passion, as a pursuit. My teacher used to always say, you should be process oriented and not product bound.
Yes.
So when I see something, I want to see completed works. Don't show your sketches.
No work in progress.
No
sketches.
No work in progress.
So, yeah, we do need to get a controller here. It was pretty amazing. Amy and Kerry did a full, I think it's 2 hours, and basically went through, all of their best advice for people that are seeking apprenticeships, not apprentice wannabes, but apprentice hopefuls. And it was great. Having people like them to help guide people into the tattoo world and really give straight up advice on how to be successful with it. Is something that's pretty unique. It's amazing. And after you two react, we've got one more question from the chat room. I think that would be a good meaty little ending. And but yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's I also podcast with Amy, and I really I enjoyed getting her ideas on apprenticeships and on running a podcast called The Apprenticeship Diaries, and she's really pulling from lots of different, not just from tattooing, but from mentorships of all types, and that's cool. I like what she's doing, and anyone trying to get into an apprenticeship right now, obviously has never faced there's never been a more difficult time to get a foot in the door and get a good apprenticeship, or get find a mentor that's willing to put in the time and effort and isn't just looking to fill a seat with a warm body. So yeah, that's all good advice.
Okay, look, you want to have any comments on that one, or?
Yeah, I agree with what they were saying too. And like a medium approach would be ideal. You wouldn't want to see someone who's super hopeful with just a limited going to expect beyond art, branding yourself. Your digital online presence has a big effect, and it doesn't start the day you walk in the door. And that's important to remember. You don't necessarily. It's not like you don't have a clean slate, but you could definitely pamper yourself, your portfolio, as you're a hopeful moving toward that.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. They'll be at the BYOB, and one of the panels I'm setting up for tattoo shop owners and tattooers is like a kind of like a Shark Tank for tattoo artists. We'll have a panel of tattoo shop owners. We'll have, people who are attending the show who want to get kind of grilled. Basically, they can get interviewed by like 5 different tattoo shop owners at the same time. So it's not just like a portfolio review, but it's like, what are you doing with your social media? Although that's, what are you doing with your website? What are you doing with your real world, promotions? Just how do you, again, just doing an interview. How do you answer questions like what happened last time you failed? It would be fun, and I imagine that Amy and Kerry will probably have some sort of interactive discussions with the apprentices and the apprentice hopefuls. So that was fun.
Yeah.
So one of the let's see, Time Travel and Hendrix on one of the YouTube chat rooms. Do you have any advice for someone looking to start tattooing but doesn't live in a town with tattoo shops to get an apprenticeship? I want to formally get trained, and I don't want to learn by myself. Somebody
no tattoo
says
shops in the town. Wow.
Doesn't live in a town with tattoo shops. Yeah, that's crazy. Someone says Mr. Iron X has become a barber. Snafu San says moved to a place with a tattoo shop. And then Time Hendrix replies, although obviously I've been learning and studying what I can without the benefits of having a tattoo machine. So maybe we could address the importance of just getting better at your art as opposed to like hacking on your friends and yourself. And then the same person, Time Travel Hendrix, says to the barber comment, being a barber is for hipsters nowadays, so they're not interested. But okay, so the question is like, if there's a lot of people that we're on the internet here, we're chatting with a lot of people that have limited access to the traditional responsible ways that people are saying to learn to tattoo. And again, like I said, our goal here is to figure out a way for you to reduce your bad tattoo karma. Like everyone that just learns and hacks on people, you all have to make up for your own bad tattoo karma. You have to do those cover-ups. Your friends and family might have your shit on them for years. Our goal is to try to figure out how to mitigate. You will have to travel, I guess, like to some degree. Like, if you want to learn from the best, you're going to have to travel no matter who you are, because chances that you are living amongst the best is very limited, is not very probable.
Yeah.
I
always suggest that people get tattooed by their favorite artists and ask those questions in real life. We get that exact question. Maybe not, there's no tattoo shop in my town, but a few tattoo shops, no good artists, whatever, all types of reasons that lots of challenges that keep people from getting into tattooing. And and then the easy answer, of course, is move someplace with tattoo shops. But people have families. Sometimes they're divorced with kids that live in the town and they don't want to move away from their kids, or maybe they're not divorced and they can't pick their families up. But we hear a lot of this, the same types of stories, and of course it's hard to just like throw your portfolio out there, and some shop says, yeah, we'll give you we'll give you an apprenticeship, and you pick up and you move and you realize that you can't afford to sit there for free, 5 days a week, doing apprenticeship type tasks. And so I always, I always just suggest that people save money, work on their drawing, like you said, get tattooed by people that they look up to, and you never know where opportunities might come from. You might find a front desk spot, or for a little while you learn, or you may find that a tattooer is looking for a personal assistant and is willing to, you don't know until you get in front of someone and you find that you have some commonalities or whatever, and you guys kind of hit it off, and they're like, yeah, maybe I can make time and help you foot the bills while you learn how to do this. I don't know. There's no easy solution for that problem, unfortunately.
I have actually a solution that plays with the times, developed in, I would say, 2020, thanks to Gabe Ripley and Guy Aitchison. Now there's a community where we have an apprentice group within the Reinventing the Tattoo app. And honestly, it's a nice place to have the community that wasn't really there before. So I'd encourage to join that, because there's so many other people that you can actually talk to. And we've proved time and time again that location doesn't matter in that regard. So I definitely encourage them to do that.
Yeah.
It's definitely pretty crazy. The amount of interaction that people are able to get, through the technologies is pretty crazy. But traveling and meeting in the real world, is definitely often something that's needed. And to Jake's point, or there's definitely a ton of stories about people who can't just pick up and move wherever. And just because you could pick up and move wherever doesn't mean you're land in the right place with the right person if you don't take care to. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, Lauren, you're right. Like, connecting, through reinventing and through all these different channels with like-minded people means that you're more likely to find an opportunity. I would also say, and to Jake, getting tattooed by the best people that you possibly can is definitely something that's always advisable. Whenever anybody's like, I'm about to learn on myself, it was like, well, why the fuck would you do that? Like, certainly that is the easiest access to skin, but like watching someone tattoo your thigh that knows how to do it, you're going to learn way more than trying to just do it yourself, And, but to Jake's point, like, if you're both mastering the level of rendering that you can accomplish technically, as well as expanding your mind and coming up with visions that are interesting and that connect with people, the combination of pushing your artistic vision and voice with understanding what makes a great tattooer and getting tattooed by them, they're going to give you the advice, and it might not be stay there, but it might be stay there and take these 5 courses or whatever, But the point is, you want to get that advice from somebody who is such a sick tattooer that you could really trust them.
And you're paying for their time anyways, and a lot of times they don't mind. I certainly don't mind talking tattoos with people that I'm tattooing. Whether it's just a client that's interested or someone that's hoping to get into tattooing, I'm much more likely to engage in that conversation if they're paying for my time than I am at a bar or or through YouTube or whatever else. So, yeah.
Sweet.
Well, let's wrap this thing up. It's 10:30 my time. We have to do this again in like what feels like 4 hours.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, I need to take a walk. I need to walk off the spear first too. But yeah, to your point, this seems to be working just well. There's people that actually dig it online. Let's and we figured it out enough that maybe we could start 9 o'clock next Sunday on time and get it done by 10:15.
Yeah, and anyone who's tuning in on this that wants to volunteer their time to switch the cameras for us so we don't have to do it ourselves, feel free to message us.
Yes, one more helper would be amazing. And cool.
Cool.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for watching the Tattoo Weekly.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Hopefully we do this every Sunday moving forward, unless you guys say please.